Have you ever stood next to a giant, towering tree and just stopped to think about it? I mean, how did all of that come from something as tiny and, let's be honest, as boring looking as a seed? It is an absolutely mind-blowing transformation. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret life of a plant and follow its journey from that very first breath all the way to becoming a giant. And really, this is the big question, isn't it? How on earth does a tiny, seemingly dead seed hold the entire complex blueprint for a massive living tree? It seems impossible. Well, let's dive in and see if we can unravel this incredible mystery together.
So, our story kicks off exactly where you'd think it would, inside that little seed. But this isn't just any old seed sitting around. This one is on the verge of waking up, of kicking off this incredible chain reaction we call life.
Now, this whole awakening process has a name, and it's called germination. You can think of it as the moment the engine finally turns over. The seed stops just sitting there and starts doing things. It's firing up all its internal machinery to become a seedling. But it turns out it can't do this just anytime it wants.
Nope. For a seed to actually start germination, it needs the perfect recipe. It's got to have 3 things from its environment. First up, it needs a good drink of water to get everything moving. Then it needs oxygen, because believe it or not, it has to breathe. And finally, the temperature has to be just right. Not too hot, not too cold, so all its internal chemistry can get to work. So, once those conditions are perfect, the action starts. First, the seed soaks up water, which basically flips the on switch for its enzymes. Then the radicle, that's the first tiny root, pushes its way out to get a good grip on the soil. And right after that, the plumule, which is the very first shoot, begins its journey up, reaching for that all-important sunlight. It's this beautiful instinctual dance. Root down, shoot up. Okay, so our seedling is up and running, but its journey is, wow, far from over. In fact, things are about to get a whole lot more explosive. See, the plant's growth happens in a few really distinct phases. What's amazing is that you can map out a plant's entire life with this simple, predictable S-shaped curve. It always starts out a little slow, while the seedling is just finding its footing. Then, boom, it hits his period of super fast, explosive growth. And finally, as it gets older and reaches maturity, it starts to level off. This pattern, it's pretty much universal for all plants. So what's actually going on at a microscopic level to make that S-curve happen? Well, it's a simple 3-act play. First, you have cell division. There are these special cells at the tips of the roots and shoots. They're called meristematic cells, basically the plant's version of stem cells, and they just start multiplying like crazy. Next, in phase 2, those new cells stretch out. They get bigger and longer. And finally, phase 3, cell maturation. This is where they grow up and take on their final specialized jobs in the plant.
Taking on specialized jobs? Now this is where things get really, really cool. Let's zoom in even closer. How does a single, brand new cell decide what it's going to be when it grows up?
Well, that process is called differentiation. And you can honestly think of it like a cell choosing a career path. It starts out as this general-purpose, jack-of-all-trades cell, and then it commits. It specializes to become part of a root or stem or a leaf. This is how a plant builds all its different parts from the exact same fundamental building blocks.
But get this, and this is the wild part. A cell's career isn't always set in stone. A cell that's already specialized can do something called de-differentiation. It literally hits a reset button and goes back to being a dividing cell. And then it can re-differentiate and pick a totally new career. So a basic tissue cell could go back and then re-specialize to become part of the plant's plumbing, moving water around. I mean, that adaptability is just incredible. Okay. So we've got all this crazy cellular action going on. Cells dividing, growing, choosing careers, even changing careers. But who's in charge? What's telling them all what to do and when to do it? Well, that's the job of the plant's internal command and control system. And that command system is run by hormones. You have to think of these hormones as tiny chemical messengers that act like the conductors of a huge orchestra. They're constantly sending signals, telling every single part of the plant exactly what to do to keep the whole performance of growth in perfect harmony.
And here they are, the 5-star players in our hormone orchestra. You've got your growth promoters, right? Auxins and gibberellins are pushing for more growth in the stems and roots. Cytokinins are all about making more cells. Then you have ethylene, which handles things like making sure fruit ripens on time. But then there's the odd one out, abscisic acid, or ABA for short. It plays a totally different role.
Because this whole system, you see, is all about balance. It's a constant push and pull. You have hormones like gibberellins that are basically the go signal, screaming, grow, grow, grow. But then you have inhibitors, like ABA, which act as the stop signal. It tells the plant to slow down, save energy, or even go dormant when conditions get tough. This delicate dance is what regulates a plant's entire life. All right, let's pull the camera back out. We've seen the spark of germination, the phases of growth, the amazing career paths of individual cells, and the hormone orchestra that's directing this whole show. Let's put it all together and look at the final masterpiece. When you step back and look at the whole process, it's just breathtaking. It all starts with one tiny seed, just waiting for that perfect trigger. It grows along that predictable curve, all driven by cells that are dividing, stretching, and specializing. And the whole thing is conducted by this incredible chemical symphony, all of it following the instructions written in its own living blueprint. And the end result of all of this? A mature plant. It's not just a random pile of green stuff. It is a perfectly constructed organism, built by this amazing coordination between cells, chemicals, and the world around it. It's a true symphony of life. So, this leaves us with one last, really big thought to chew on. Now that we're starting to really understand this incredible blueprint for life, what could we, as humans, build with that knowledge? How can this change everything from the food we grow to the medicines we create? The potential, it seems, is as vast and full of life as an entire forest.